Okay, welcome to Bitrix24 Live. I'm Damien Edwards, Commercial Manager of Bitrix24 Partners Interface. Our contact details are on the screen there. We're located in the UK and we have offices in New York and Dubai, and we're able to provide pre-sale support, including a demo and discussion around the different editions and features of Bitrix. We provide implementation service, including customization and training, and we provide telephone support for all editions of Bitrix24. With me, I've got our support manager, Andy Naylor.
Hi there. So we're here for the next hour on YouTube. So if you do have any questions, just put them in the box provided on the chat window next to the video, and we'll answer them as we go through. So, like I say, we're here for the next hour. We are here every Thursday at 10 AM Eastern Time. And you should, if you have subscribed to Bitrix YouTube channel, then you should have got a notification each week that we're on. So if you have any questions in the week as well, do send them to live@interface.com. And we usually kick off each session with those questions. So I think we do have some that have come through in the previous week. I think Damien's going to kick off with...
Yeah, we've got a question here. It says around how to edit clock in and clock outs for users. So if we go into time and reports and work time, then if you're an administrator, you'll see a settings button here. So this is the feature that allows you to, not enabled here, allows you to clock in and clock out. Let's have a look, see if we can open our other account here. Again, non-enabled on that. Okay, let's do it on this one. So if you're an administrator, you'll see a settings button here. If I click into the settings button, I've got the options then to change this by individual user or by department. So it's currently off. Let's turn that on. So I've enabled it for the management team, and we've got flexible working. Let's turn that flexible working off. So we're allowing them to clock in this case, the latest 9:15. We can change that. Let's bring that forward. And earliest clock out time here is 5:45. We are requiring them to do a minimum of 8 hours a day. So there's some flexibility there and some adjustment here around what we're letting them. We're letting them clock in 15 minutes late or clock out 15 minutes early, and that's it really. You'll see on this page those times appear on individual days across here, and if they've actually not met the minimum criteria, you'll see a warning. You're able to approve that as their supervisor. So we haven't got any data on here, unfortunately, on this demo site, but you can see that it's now flashing and requiring us to clock in. So yeah, it should work okay. So again, I mean, if you want to turn it off, you can turn it off for individual users. If it's not required, you don't want that flashing. Another question from the same person: I'm struggling to create a column on the planner for my staff that shows their tasks that are due today. So if we go into tasks, and you can view tasks in a list view, a Gantt view, and you can also view them in a planner view now as well. So like a Kanban. So these columns at the top allow the user to change the task from one to another, and they're individual per user. So it allows them to just plan their own individual work. Any movement on these that I make won't be reflected in anyone else's. It doesn't actually change the status of the task at all. It just orders them for my own purpose. So your question was tasks that are due today. Well, these are, as I say, they're just descriptions. They're just your own individual statuses They don't work on dates or anything. They're not looking at any data that's within a task at all. But you do have a deadline date on a task. Put that one on today. The other dates you have are created on a deadline date on a task. So we'll be looking at this deadline date, or what you call due date.
I think, just going back to the question, I think I'm struggling to create a column on the planner for another staff member. I don't think you'd be able to do that. I think what you will need to do is show them how it's done, like for example, how to add a column, but that employee would have to do it themselves.
Yeah.
You can't do it on behalf of somebody, because as Damien mentioned, this is an individual to whoever's the person is logged in. So you can simply add a new column on here by clicking on the plus icon, and that would add a column.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. So the way to do it, to filter tasks by those that are due today, is to open up the filter at the top and filter by current day. Take out some of these, so you're filtering all tasks if you want to do that. And we're left with the one that we updated today. So there isn't a column, but there is a way of filtering those.
Yeah, and one of the good things now, whilst we're in this task section, is that you can actually set your own automation rules on your own planner. So you can see here, I'm in the my plan. Then it may be that if you have your own stage of completed, you could actually update particular elements of the task itself. So you've moved it into the completed stage. We could actually then change the status of a task to completed, so it would automatically finish that task off once you've moved it into your own planning. So that does, like you say, the plan itself, the Kanban stages for your own plan are personal, but you can change fields within that task that other people will see then, such as status. So it's definitely a handy tool to have in your own My Planner.
Okay.
So we've got a question come through on the chat, and it says, "Hey guys, can you show how the help desk works?" So yeah, certainly. So the help desk, for those of you that don't know, is on the on-premise version of Bitrix, which is the hosted version. You don't need to host it yourself. You don't have to have your own server. A partner can host it for you, and the help desk does come on the on-premise version. Now on our version here, we're in the on-premise. We have it on the extranet, so you can place the help desk on your intranet here, or you can place it on your extranet. And a good example of why you would have it on your extranet is that it would essentially you can invite your clients in, and then they can submit support tickets. So we have a link on the left hand side here for support, and when that user logs in, they will be able to see all the tickets that they've raised themselves, and they'll be able to see the status of that particular support ticket. So you can see here, these are currently awaiting the user, with it being green, to reply, and then we have another couple of statuses here with the completed on here too. So they will see their own personalized list. If they want to submit a ticket, there's 3 ways you can submit a ticket. You can click on create a new ticket, and you have a simple form that you can fill out. So just subject, message, you can attach files, set priorities, and specify a particular category. Bitrix also has a good tool to have a support wizard. So basically what this is doing, it's taking somebody down a path of questions that you are subtracting the answer from that particular person. So if I click on create a new ticket here, and let's just say we have a file upload problem, so we've tailored this to meet a specific problem. And then the next point is we're going to ask them another series of questions. So we can have a drop down, we can say restarting, and then click on finish. We'll have an overview, and then they can add some more text in here. But the amount of steps you can have is unlimited, so you can really tailor the path of somebody submitting a support ticket. So those are the ways that you would do it online. The third way of submitting a ticket is the on-premise version gives you the ability to set up a mailbox. And you might want to do that if you click into services here, click into mail, click into mailboxes, and you might want to set up support at interface, for example. And what that will do is there is a rule that is a standard rule inside Bitrix that you can simply apply. Once you've set up your mailbox, click on rules, and then we can add a new rule here, and it's just adding message to tech support. And what that will mean is that every email that is received to support@interface.com, it will then add that ticket. We'll do a couple of checks based on the rule. So if you click into this rule, as an example, so we'll have this when receiving mail ticked, but it can perform a couple of checks here. And if that email has come from an email address of the user that exists in the system, so maybe an external, an extranet user, then it will assign that ticket to that particular user. So that is quite useful in that case. And then finally, what the support agent should do. So once the agent is in the has received the ticket to answer, they'll come into this help desk section here, click on troubled tickets, and then they'll be able to see any outstanding tickets with a whole range of different filters. Click on the ticket itself, you'll see the query, click on answer, and then we can say you try. And then everything in here can be tailored to meet what you require. Click on save, and then the person who submitted that ticket will then get a notification about that particular reply, and they'll be able to log back into the extranet and see that reply as well. So that's quite a brief overview of how the help desk works in a nutshell. But if you do have any more questions, do get in touch with us, and we can maybe arrange a demonstration one-on-one to show you a little bit more.
Okay, would it be possible to ask for a customer? Would it be possible to ask a customer for a Google review via email? So the day after an invoice has been generated, send an email asking for a Google review, then 3 days afterwards. So it's not possible to do automation on invoices, but the way you could handle this is to go into the CRM. You could handle it in deals. So if we go into the CRM and into our deals and our automation rules over here. So I think the way to do it would be to have a stage called invoiced, and if we configure our automation rules, so let's say this one's invoiced, we could generate the invoice from this stage. Let's have a look where it is. Okay, create from. So we can generate an invoice here. So when we update to this stage, we'll automatically generate an invoice, but we're not going to close the deal down. We're going to use the automation to send an email out immediately, then 3 days later. So immediately on updating to this stage, we'll create an invoice. This is the invoice. We can edit that to create invoice. It will populate the products that you've got in the deal to create the invoice. So that's going to do the invoice. You then want to send out request a Google review. So I'm assuming that you're just talking about emailing them and asking them for a review. So we can do that by generating an email. Please review, and if you want to put a link in here as well to your page that you want reviewing, and a full email in there. So this will create the invoice when you update to this stage. It will send them an email, and we can then pause this. So I think you said a follow-up email in 3 days. We can then pause this. I think what we probably want to do is just put in a control, maybe. Can't remember if we have a pause activity within here. In fact, I don't know if we can actually generate another email with a oh yeah, of course we can. So we can generate a second follow-up email, and we can just put a condition in there. So in 3 days. So we're gonna instead of running immediately, we're gonna wait for 3 days and send this follow-up one. We can put some slightly different text in there, and save that. So oops, let's put something in there. Oh. What are we missing there? The sender parameter is missing. Okay. So you can do this. You can do this all in the same stage. It will generate the invoice. It will send a first email, then it will send a follow-up email 3 days later. If you want to then put a control in, you could have a control here that would wait for a further period of time, and if nothing happens, just close this deal down or win it, however you want to do it. So you can't do it in the invoicing, but you can't do any automation in invoicing, but you can do all of this inside deals. Okay.
Just looking, so just looking at the activity report that shows a count for both open and closed activities. So yeah, I was just looking. Just click into the CRM. I think we have. Let's see first of all in the activities section and click on reports. I'm not sure if we'll be able to see a total in this. Let's have a look. So it's not all activity. Oh, yeah, not sure I'll be able to get all activities in here. I think I might need a little bit more time because I just had a look at the report itself, so we can see in here at the moment we have created a report. So if we just click into here, and basically what we would do is make sure you have the completed field in here. So what we've done is created an activity report, sorry. So gone into report, selected activity and generated a new report. And then we have, just make sure we have the completed, and then we have completed equals yes, and we'll be able to change that filter in a moment. And then we save it, but it's not bringing in, I've just been having a go while Damien was showing you that, it's not bringing in the total count to be completed on here. So maybe come back to that and I'll see if I can get it to you by the end of this session.
Okay, is there a way to schedule activities and tasks based on when the previous activity is checked as closed? Seems like every option, but that is available. So this is a question that I think you emailed over as well earlier. So you requested by email to have a process whereby a call is automatically scheduled. So that sort of part is fairly straightforward. So if we go into automation rules again, inside leads here, so we can schedule calls based on the stage of a lead. It will automatically book the call in for the user. You can configure how this call, when this call appears, immediately configure who's going to be responsible for this call. But I think that you want to be able to do some additional things like send a text message and create a task. That's all sort of straightforward. We've got a task in here. So the sort of things that you can do are listed down here. You've probably been through all of these. Create call, create task, create meeting, send text message, those sort of things. So they're all fairly standard. What you want to be able to do is schedule a call and then schedule a follow-up call if that call's completed. But to not schedule a series of calls if and those just stack up if the previous calls haven't been completed. It isn't possible to feedback whether the call has been completed. I think you've been looking for that. It doesn't exist. It would be possible to do this if you had a self-hosted version. We could write a little bit of code that would do that. It would check. It would tag the call and check to see whether that's completed, and then continue to progress through the different stages or through your process. But you would have to write some code to do that, so it wouldn't actually be possible in the cloud version. You'd need a self-hosted version to be able to put that code in. It'd be fairly straightforward though. We can create an action block with custom code in it, so it's not a very big job, but it would involve a couple of hours, 2 or 3 hours work, I guess. Okay, we have leads where each has its own documents. I know we can create custom fields and upload documents, but these are not synced to Drive. Can we customize to link documents to the CRM? So you can't really customize the cloud version like that. If you have a self-hosted, then you'd be able to do that. But essentially, you're using this inside leads, and as you say, you can create a custom field here, which is a file. Give it a name, and then you can attach a file to this lead. It goes into a general folder, and you retrieve the files from here. The only other thing to do really is to link maybe to the actual drive. So copy the URL, go into your drive you want to use over here, copy the URL of that and link to it from here so that you can open the folder from the leads page. But there isn't a way to do an integration, don't think, with that as such on the cloud. And it's self-hosted, there'd be a bit, you could customize this so that the file goes to a specific location.
I think one thing you possibly could do is have a business process that when you create a company or a lead, in your case in lead, so every time you create a lead, it will create a folder in your company drive in the business process, and then it will look at the files that are on that particular location here and then move them to that drive location. Does that make sense? So if we go into the settings, automation and business process, and we'll just add a quick one here. So I'll add a process that sync documents on creation. So have it when added. And then what we'll do is we will come to the drive location here. So if we said create folder on drive, and we did it to a drive folder, click into company drive, specify folder name, folder name, give it a lead name. I think we're going to need to select a folder here, so let's put it in client A. And then give it a name created by ourselves. So that will create the folder, and then what we could do is upload to the drive. So we click on drive folder again. Instead of this, click on additional results, file to upload, and we click into here and find a file field if we've got one. the only thing we haven't got. So let's just do this in a minute. I think it's going to ask for a file. Is there a file field, do you know of?
There probably won't. There probably won't be one, so we need to create it. There's new file. That's what I just created.
Yeah. So then we'll upload it as John Smith. So what we could do here, so that's essentially it. And then if we click on save, and then if we add a new lead, click on add new lead here, and give it a name. Andy, and then make sure we select our file, and we'll say business card color, then click on save. May have a required field, but so you can see this file here. Then if we go to our document drive and click on company drive, I think it was in client A. Can't remember where I did it.
Client A at the top.
Yeah, 12 seconds ago. Click on client A, you can see it's created a folder that I specified called the lead name, and then you should see here this is the business card that's been added to that drive. Now you could do that on not only just on new lead creation, but you could do that on new every time a lead is edited. So that would then sync every file that you add to that particular lead into this particular folder in the drive.
Yeah, it's good. Following on from the question from earlier, when I hit resume on a task, I want the task to return to the not started column on the planner. I've not been successful in figuring out how to do that, so you cannot do it for the reason that a planner is individual to, as we said earlier, to each user. So some users will have a not started column, some users will not have that column at all, it'll be called something different. But yeah, and you can't change the status to any of these fields because they don't exist as fields across everybody. So you can't do that. So I can see where you want to, when you are going into a task and you kind of finish this task and then you want to resume it. You want to resume with the first stage. I don't think there's a way of doing that. I don't think there's a way of doing that at all. I mean, I suppose if you had a self-hosted version, we could look at resuming to you know, this initial stage or something. It probably wouldn't work at all. Just the fact that the planner's not universal, it's different for each individual user. If we go into our work groups, and if we go into tasks in here, you actually have within the work groups you actually have a planner and you have a Kanban. So again, the planner is individual per user. The Kanban is based on the stage that exists within the task. So this stage over here is represented by these stages across the top, and that's the same for everyone. Everyone sees the same thing. So it would still, again, and you still don't have the functionality. You know, if I finish this and resume it, you don't have the functionality, I don't think, to change the stage of it. It stays the same as this stage here. I mean, there might be an automation rule. It's fairly new, but what you need really is some sort of trigger to do it. But I'm guessing we haven't got them. So it's quite new. It might be that actually some of those sort of triggers are coming, but as it stands, you can't do that unless you had self-hosted. We could create a custom process.
Just going back to Chris, the comment you mentioned earlier, I'm going to have to come back to you on that. I've just tried to do the yes or no on the activity reports, but I've got your email anyway, Chris, so I'll drop you an email. I have to come back to you on that point.
Okay. Is there a way to make our planner auto refresh? You want to be able to see the changes to statuses live. Not sure whether, if something becomes overdue, whether it's pushed through to this until you refresh the page. I guess, like you say, it doesn't. If you look at things like the activity stream in CRM records, then activities are pushed into it, automatically refreshes. But if you want this to happen, maybe when different people are added to the task and you want to see it in this page, you can actually get a Chrome extension if you're using Chrome browser you can set to auto refresh the browser every period of time, every few seconds or minutes. So if you search Chrome extension auto refresh, then you could install that. That would do it for you. But you do need to refresh the browser. I think if the activity is not pushing through automatically and you're having to refresh it manually, just do something to refresh the browser itself automatically. Okay, there's our contact details. Send us know if we've got any more questions.
So I had a question come in through the week, and it was just about their clients wanting to, they have a lot of information they want to store against a particular contact, and it's a repeated data. So if they want to store, for example, the one that came in was they have a lot of donations provided by each contact. And so let's say, for example, you've donated 10 times, I've donated 5 times. They want to store every repetition of that donation against that particular contact. Now, to do that in your contact fields, it's going to be pretty. It's going to take up quite a lot of space, and it's not going to be relevant. So they were using deals for something else. That would have been one option. But what we could do, instead of having it in a section here, we can actually add a list item, and I've actually done it in the cloud site. So within Bitrix there is a lists module. I think we have it in our left hand menu. So we click into lists. So it's also in your employees section, and you'll see lists at the top. Now, to create a new list, it's pretty straightforward. Click on new and you can give it a name. And I've called ours donations just to show you how it works. Now, you can see here we have 4 field names. We can add our different fields, and we can add unlimited fields in here into this list item. So I click on customize fields. And you can see here we have gift ID, gift date, amount, which is a money field. But the most important element of this list is called donor name. And basically what this is doing is binding it to a CRM item. So if I just click into here and just show you, so we have the field type as bind to CRM items. And in this case, I have bound it to a contact. And what that means is that when I add a new line to this list, I will associate it against a contact. And what the powerful nature of lists are is I will be able to see that list item within that contact. So you can see here in our list, if I go back to it, that we have a donor name of Damien Edwards, which is a contact in our CRM. Now, if I go into the CRM and go into contacts, then go into Damien Edwards here, then you'll be able to see at the top we now have a new tab here called donations. And if I click into it, I'll be able to see the gift ID when they donated, the date they donated, and the amount. Obviously we can have more fields in here, but if I wanted to add another one, I would then simply click on gift ID 454, and then we could say it's the 22nd, Only because I'm an admin, I see these, so you wouldn't necessarily see these if you didn't. You could say it's going to be $500. This is related to the currencies that are available on your site. And this is auto-populated because I'm creating it from the contact Damien Edwards. So there you can see that it's automatically added it to the grid. We can sort on the date, amount and the ID if we wanted to. But if I was to go into, let's say, Andy Naylor here and click on donations, then this this contact does not have any. And it's a great way of displaying a list of information based on a contact in this case, but you can bind it to, you can create these in companies, you can create these bind it to a lead, you can bind it to a deal just by creating a list item and selecting the CR element that you wanted to. So it's definitely a good way of displaying information that you need to.
Okay, is there a way to create a preset task when creating a work group? So there is a way to do this. If we go into work groups, if we go into tasks, I mean, just to mention firstly that you can create task templates, and that, so if you want to create standard tasks that have standard content in, and just generate that task from a template, you can do that. Go into all templates and create a series of create some new task templates. They can be, you know, automatically assigned to particular users, have content attachments and things like that pre-built into them. But if you want to create a work group that has a preset tasks already in there, then you would do this by running a process. You could run it from the activity stream if you wanted. Probably more likely to run it from, say, a company record. So if it's a project you've been working on, that you've been working on the pre-sales stage and you've won it, and you're probably going to do it from here. Let's just go into this site, into the contacts in here. You're probably going to do it from the company record. So we're in here, we've run a project for these people. We want to create a work group with a series of tasks to deliver that project. Then you would have a process. So we have one here called create project, and I'll show you the business process in a second, but this one presents us with a form actually. So you could do it so that you're inputting specific data to that project, and that might be relevant in that not all projects are exactly the same, particularly the name of the project, I guess. This is going to be the name of the task. Let's call it that. This is going to be the person that's the manager of this task, this project. So it might be that actually it's not always going to be assigned to the same person. It depends on the task. We've got some milestones, call them M1, M2. I think these become the names of the tasks. I'll have to check how that works, and we can put a deadline. This will become the deadline date for the project. Let's attach a file into there as well, and start that process off. Let me just close this down. We'll look at the business process in a second. In fact, let's open the business process now, and just check what it actually does. I can't remember what it's actually doing. If we go into settings and automation and business processes and the templates within the company record, we have a create project here. So in the first instance, it's requesting more information. So it's going to ask the person, I think, who's the person we've assigned as a project manager, to complete a bit more information. It's then going to send out notifications, create the work group. Yeah, and as we thought, milestone 1, 2 and 3 are individual tasks. So we can populate the content. So the question was about creating a series of tasks. We can populate the content of these tasks, the description, anything around deadline dates, where the task's actually going to sit. In fact, they're going to sit into the work group we're creating here, not in a different work group. I guess you can attach files associated with a company and things like that. All those different settings can be pre-populated, but what we're going to do is that the task name is going to be the name that we inputted into the form, because you might want it to be slightly different on individual projects. So essentially creates the 3 tasks down here, uploads a document to the drive, and sends out a notification here. So just go back into site, look in our workflows here, and that was the first stage, asking us to approve it. In this case, I assign this user myself as the manager of the project. So it's got it down here. You have been assigned a new project. Please accept and estimate completion date. So if we click in start, it's asking us to put a completion date in. We can accept, got the option to decline or delegate, but we can accept that. And on accepting that, just go back into the process. You can see that once we accept it here, so this is the two options I've got, to accept or to refuse. On refuse, the process comes to an end automatically. On accept, it's going to create the work group and the tasks. So it's dropped out of my assignments. I think we should have had a notification. Task mode. Okay, so I've got some, give me a notification about some tasks that I've got here. Probably a bit further down, let's give me a notification about the you've been assigned a new project. Please accept. Please accept and add notification. That's this one up here. Yeah. So actually, we've got probably kind of notification overload there. Sent out 4 different notifications, 3 about the tasks and one about the actual project group. But this is the group it's created. This is what I called it. And to get to the answer of your question, can we create a series of tasks when we create a work group? You can. So you're not creating a work group by going in here and clicking the plus sign. You're creating it from a form in a company record, which triggers a process which generates the work group. It's probably a better way of doing it because it adds some structure to how you create these projects.
You could do it from, we've got it the other way as well. I mean, if you don't want to do it from the CRM, you can do it from the activity stream. Yeah,
you can, yeah. But there you go, we've created those different tasks here. They're not got a lot in them, but you can populate them with whatever you need. But just to show you in the drive, that document we put in there, it's added that into there as well. Yeah, and it says you can, if we go to the activity stream and in this site, I think we've got a similar thing under workflows, create project, similar sort of form here again. In this case, it's got a drop down. Let me just show you this just quickly, unless other questions are coming in. In this case, it's got a drop down asking us what type of project this is. That's quite common. You have different types of projects you're working on. Based on what I select here, it will create a different set of tasks for that project. I'll just show you the workflow rather than actually running through the process. If we go to workflows, settings, new project, click through all of these, go into configure workflow and project. So in this case, again, it requests some extra information. You don't have to have this stage, you don't have to have that approval stage. It can just automatically create the work group for this demo as we put an approval stage in. Creates the work group. It does some other things about notifying people in here and adding documents, but the difference here is we have a condition. So based on that drop-down selection that the user's given the option on, if we choose project A, it creates this task. Project B's created these 2 tasks here, and of course it's quite easy. Then once you've got this, where's my tasks, to add extra tasks into here. Indeed, if you wanted to add things like calendar events, we can do that as well. Create calendar events as well. So so it might seem a bit overly complex to create work group with some standard tasks, but it's actually quite straightforward. I think you're just creating a form, requesting to clarify some information, and then a process to create the tasks. Just to be clear, like we've got a form, and we're using the information you input in the form to create the task, but you could just pull the information from the company record, from the other item that you're working with, to populate the tasks if you don't want to present them with a form. I don't know if we should go into how you have to create that form, where you find those fields. We just look at that quickly.
Yeah, just while you go to that point, just about the SMS webhook, we've not covered that. So if you want to put your question in, I don't know if that came through the week, but if you want to put your question in the box, we can try and get to it in a moment.
So if we go, we just close that down, go back into, so go into template parameters once you're in your business process. If we go into these variables over here, then we can create a list of, if we got...
You're in the activity stream at the minute here, so you need to come back out.
Should we go into the other one? Let's go into this one, not in that one. Let's go into this one, which was the one that was created on the CRM. We go into template parameters, template parameters, and to parameters field. So these are the fields that were presented to the user when they triggered this process, the information that was requested from the user, things like these milestones, which became the title of the task, who's going to be the manager, the deadline dates. You can add additional parameters here. You can do any of the sort of standard fields, money fields, date fields, number fields, phone, email, etc. So you can create those fields which then create the fields in the form. You then want to do something with that information. For instance, milestone 1, when somebody puts, we just called it M1 in our case when we filled out the form. You want to do something with that. In this case, we want to name the task. Name the task this. So what we do, we'll take that out, click on the the button with 3 dots here to the side of the task, and go into template parameters at the top here, and use that information from that field to actually populate the name of the task. So yeah, that's it. So they exist up here. It's not the standard element fields, because they're the standard fields that exist in this case in a company record. It's those custom fields in that, or those parameter fields up there.
Yeah, somebody just said, can we start those tasks at a later date in that work group based on a separate workflow? So I always steal the logic that Bitrix provides in there. If you can't remember it, I think Bitrix provides some logic in their automation rules that specifies to run it in, and you can drag that into one of those workflows. So if we said create task, and we'll have the deadline in, let's say, 5 days after the current time. Let's just click on select. You can see that it has this logic here, equals date add. So I usually steal that, it's easier. And then if you want to put it into one of these processes, we could then say a start date is literally going to be 5 days after this process is triggered. And then you could have a finish date of 10 days after that logic is 10 days after this process has been triggered. So that would be running for 5 days from the point that this is triggered. And if you wanted to set a deadline in here for that 10 days, and that's essentially how you do it. It's quite a useful way of doing it.
It's not immediately obvious how to do that.
No, it's not. No, but grabbing what the time here just gives you that easy logic to do.
Okay, let's put our contact details up. If you've got any questions afterwards, send them over to us.
Yeah, just with regards to that outbound SMS, I don't know. We'd have to look into that. It's not something that we've done before with Twilio and using a Microsoft bot. So we'd have to just have a little bit of an investigation on that.
I think it's certainly possible, but it could involve, whether it's feasible, it could involve, a fair bit of work. We could look into it for you, but it would take, it would require a bit of more investigation, some time to discuss how you want it to work and what's possible. So it would certainly be custom, certainly involve some cost as well. So get in touch with us if you want a demo on anything at all, or if you have any other questions or customizations you require. If you want support, we have annual support package. So if you'd rather not wait for Bitrix to reply to your support questions and want an immediate response, you want a dedicated contact who will understand your business and learn what you're trying to achieve, then we have that support package for you. You can contact us by phone, by Skype, by email, or by ticket, and we have different packages for different editions. Depending on which edition you're on, the cost varies. They're all annual packages, but it's all unlimited number of requests. So unlimited completely on bug fixing. So if you have a problem, it's a Bitrix problem, we'll fix it, or we'll raise it with Bitrix and we'll keep the ticket open until that's resolved. It also covers things like how-to questions, so how you change the questions sort of having today. It'll cover most of those questions. What's out of scope of our support would be maybe things like the SMS integration with webhooks that would be beyond the scope of standard support, but we can do customization, consultation on how to make those changes or create those customizations for you.
Okay, so we're here every Thursday at 10 AM Eastern time, so I think for those of you that are here today and have been, you will have subscribed to the Bitrix YouTube channel, so you'll have got notified, but yeah, they'll pop you an email once we're live every week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't think we've got any more questions that have come in. Yeah, please do come in, pop an email over. It's fine.
Okay, so it's a support subscription for cloud, and so we have support subscriptions for cloud and for self-hosted. They are quite different prices, so the cloud is much lower. There's a lot less you can do on the cloud in terms of customizing it really and configuring it, so it is easier. I think really if you're on the cloud, our support can be value for money, but it's extremely good value for money if you're on the self-hosted, because there's a lot in there that you get support not from one person but from developers who are people who've worked on building the core of Bitrix, from people who are process experts, so we can help you build processes the best way possible, so get support from a whole team. So on self-hosted, that's value for money, I think.
Yeah, and for those of you that have missed anything, this session is recorded, so it will go on to Bitrix's YouTube channel once it's complete.
Okay, we've got no more questions, then we'll wrap it up. Hope to see you next time. Thanks.
Okay, bye for now.